I'd like to bring this meeting to order, and I'm going to ask Alderman Lowe Davis to do the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could stand, if you can.
Let us pray. Remembering that March is Women's History Month, we thank you, Lord, for all the cherished women in our lives and in our histories. Mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, aunts, grandmothers, friends. We are grateful for all, as well as for our ancestral grandmothers who passed wisdom and love from generation to generation down to us and to our families. Guide us tonight, we pray, so that our words and actions show how much we value all the women who have contributed to making Southport a place we love. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to start off by saying that we have a couple of changes to the agenda, and we'll do that in two parts because that's the parliamentary way of doing it. The first one is I'm going to hope the board will consider allowing me to jump a little bit and have the proclamation read after I'm done talking now. And then we'll go into public comment. And for public comment, it's everything except the public hearing text amendment for a mixed-use highway and the public hearing zoning map for Robert Rourke. Those are independent discussions that we'll have later on in the conversation, and you'll see us go into a public hearing session for this meeting. So if you're going to talk on those two topics, you do not need to get up when we do the regular public comment part of it, just to be clear. And so, as Alderman Davis pointed out, this is Women's Month, and I had the great opportunity to go down on Friday to watch a woman retire, who is Mary Beth Ray. Captain Ray has been associated with the ferry system for 28 years, and she had 21 years as a skipper, the captain of one of the boats. That when she broke into that was a pretty male-dominated world, and I congratulate her on that. As a father of two daughters and a grandfather of two granddaughters, I've spoken about her and her ability to handle that situation. And if you ever get the chance, she lives right here in Southport. She's just a wonderful person to talk to. But with that, Captain Ray, would you join me at the podium, please? And if you had seen the Port Pilot, they did a terrific job of honoring Captain Ray with multiple pictures. And as I said, it's just an absolute delight to talk to her. So with that, I'm going to read this proclamation. Whereas Mary Beth Ray served in the North Carolina Department of Transportation Ferry Division for 28 years, with 21 of those as captain in the Southport Sport Fishing System, and whereas those many years were marked by exemplary dedication to the best interests of the Southport community, and whereas Captain Ray has been an ambassador for the improvement and support of the Southport Fort Fisher ferry system, and whereas Mary Beth Ray was one of only 3 women to attain the rank of captain in the state's Department of Transportation Ferry Division, and whereas the City of Southport Board of Aldermen, this proclamation is not from the mayor, it's from the Board of Aldermen here, though I'm part of that, expressed sincere appreciation to Ferry Captain Mary Beth Ray for her dedication and hard work over 28 years, and wished her much happiness as she begins her retirement. Now, therefore, I, Richald, Mayor, do hereby proclaim the City of Southport's appreciation for the effort and service of Ferry Captain Mary Beth Ray and honor her during Women's Month on this 14th day of March 2024. Thank you very much. Would you like to say something? Would you like to say something?
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the proclamation, and I have to say it feels good to be retired, but it was a fun and rewarding career for me, and love living in Southport, love helping the shops here, bringing tourists in, and it's just it's a good system. Those that feel like going to Wilmington and not making a long drive, it's a good way to go. But thank you all. Thank you.
So now we are at public comment. Do you have anybody signed up on the list, ma'am?
I do. There are some individuals who did not put a reason, so I'll just call their name and let them decide if they need to speak now. But the first one I have is Emily Humphreys.
Emily, you see a little button right there in the middle that you hit and the red light will come on? Thank you.
Hello, board, townspeople. I'm Emily Humphreys. I live on East 8th Street here in Southport. We've been here for 19 years, since 2005, when I came here to own and manage the Port City Java franchise. I was a business owner here for 10 years. I was on the chamber board for 1 year, and I was an alderman for 1 year in 2015. So I do know a little bit about Southport. I'm here to ask for clarification on a recent city meeting. I need help in understanding the talk going on about the city manager position. I know there was support last week from a small number of citizens from our 3,700 populace to have Bonnie Theron stay on, and a proposal will probably be made shortly. But first, I need you to make a not-so-nice comparison. I want you to think back to 2014 when Officer Vassy from the Southport Police Force shot and killed a teen in BSL in January of 2014. He was suspended with pay for 6 weeks until he was indicted in February. So why was it necessary for this city manager to suspend 3 employees last October without pay for 7 weeks for alleged detrimental conduct? No one was killed in this instance. I view this as cruel and out of character for this community. Now this manager has been here since November 1, 2022, and she is under contract until June 30, 2024, 20 months. Think back again, folks. When we made Gary Smith the police chief in 2015, he was required to live in town limits even though he was from Bolivia, and so he moved to River Mist. With this manager, why has she not moved into Southport? And were she were to continue till after June 30, will she not also be expected to move into our town? Will that not also be a requirement? Don't you think these are weird deviations to previous policies? I do. I would like to remind folks that the current mayor campaigned on the importance of a new city manager and the importance of getting this done before the budget process in June. So let's proceed without other deviations occurring. Thank you.
Do you have another person, ma'am?
Robert Green.
I would like to take this opportunity to say that you have a great community. I am not a resident of Southport. I live on Oak Island, but I come here on a regular basis. I find it very enjoyable. I find the neighborhood and people extremely friendly, and I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Too often in life, we don't take the time to say thank you for everything you do. You spend a lot of time and effort, and it's appreciated. I'd also like to say congratulations, Captain. God bless.
Tom Vale.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Veal. I live on Walden Pond Lane in Southport. And I'm here representing the 300 members of the Citizens Against the Southport Pollute Mining Initiative. And first of all, I'd like to thank all the aldermen for their votes and to sell the property, the 441 acres over there, to the Wildlife Conservancy. I appreciate that, and that's a great thing, and it'll benefit everybody for generations to come, having that as green space. And I understand that you're gonna be moving your debris field from where it currently is, and my understanding currently is that you're gonna be moving it to the northwest corner of the property as opposed to somewhere off of Bethel. And I appreciate your willingness to do that, seeing as the roadways over there are actually built for heavier trucks, so moving debris and all of that would be much better than the skinny little Bethel Road that my pickup barely fits on. And I was just wondering if you could give us some kind of a timeline about how long the sale process would take, just an idea, I know you can't be specific day to day, but just somewhere along the timeline about how long it would take for this all to get going with the Wildlife Conservancy. And also, if you can give us any information as to the county wanting to buy 5 acres for a future water tower that's supposed to be built. I'd appreciate that, because I don't understand why they would want to put, because what I've understood was that they're buying the 5 acres on the agenda shows them all the way down the end of Bethel Road practically, where all the houses that could be built, say for 2 or 3 lots that are empty. Why would the county want to put a water tower way down there? If you could give me the information on who I need to contact from the county to get answers for that, I'd appreciate that too. But anything that you know about that, for why they'd want to go all the way that far away from, it would seem you want the water tower where the most homes are and where the largest water lines are. And I can't see Bethel Road having that much water pressure that it could fill a tower to help a neighborhood when it's such a small community down there between both of the developments. So it's just, again, I want to thank you all for the votes, the aldermen for their votes on agreeing to sell the property to the Wildlife Conservancy. I think that was a great thing that you all did. And if you could get me information about the other questions, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Emily Osborne. Brian Osborne, same. Jeff Klezos. Oh, that's sorry. Ray Martino.
Good evening, elected officials, fellow citizens. My name is Ray Martino. I live in Harbor Oaks. I've come to realize that public comment sections aren't for dialogue. So I presume that dialogue has to happen offline. Contact one of you, but we don't like just one of us talking.
I'll
City
explain,
manager?
I'll explain all of that. What I should have done in the beginning, and I apologize. When you're all done, I'll explain how we could answer your questions.
Okay, that'd be great. So I do have some questions, but I'm going to try and phrase them as statements. Does the planning board have a written mission statement, and where is it written? And that leads to, we need, I think, a better public understanding of what that mission is. From a distance, I don't understand why they are approving increased density. So, and part of my concern is that my understanding of North Carolina law is that we are limited in our ability to assess impact fees on developments for anything off the property that's actually being developed. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I've come to understand. So if that's the case, then anytime we approve a development, we're baking in a tax increase. You're looking at me with a question. Okay, you had a real question in the face. I'm sorry. I'm used to dialoguing, not just speaking. So, for at least 3 decades, an American topic has been infrastructure. And the habit that we all slip into is to think of roads and bridges and tunnels and that, but infrastructure actually has some soft components to it. If the population of the town doubled, the town would need more employees. Services, like the fact that there's not a homeless shelter in Brunswick County, the fact that Brunswick County is just now this year putting together a public defender's office. So there's these soft pieces, the infrastructure, that's all part of, when we talk about infrastructure, we just think of people wearing out our streets and roads here in Southport, but there's obviously more to it than that. So the other question I have is, I'm going to ask the question and we'll figure out an answer later. Does the city have a spreadsheet, a form, an evaluation process when we approve a new development to indicate what our expenses are going to be and what the revenues are going to be from that? And if we don't, I'm going to strongly make a suggestion that we should have something like that. Thank you very much.
Just for clarification, and once again, I'm going to take responsibility of this, is that during public comment, we don't comment. If you want to have comment from us, you just got to make sure that when you signed up, you put some kind of contact information. If you want to go to the entire board, the question or questions, please just write that on the piece of paper, and we'll try to make sure that you have requested that some comment from either the mayor, the manager, the board, whatever, however you want to put it. And we'll try to communicate that in the beginning of each meeting as we go forward. The reason for that is because we'll get into 5 hours of discussion and we'll never get out of here. So you'll see it again when we get to the public comment on the two text amendments. And one of them, I'm assuming there's a number of people here that are here to speak about that. I know we've got some letters on it. And we will be silent again. However, this is the public hearing part. Next month, those topics will come back to us for a decision, and you will hear, I'm sure, lively discussions about all of that. So we have on the agenda later on an update on the potential sale of the property and what's going on. So with that, ma'am, is there somebody else?
Yes, sir. I've got Laura Sharkey.
Good evening. My name is Laura Sharkey, and I live at 432 Cades Trail in Southport. My purpose in speaking tonight is to reinforce the importance of objectivity in the selection of services and employees by the City of Southport. At the board meeting on March 4th, a group of appreciative citizens brought forth thank you notes for Ms. Theron and a request that she extend her time as city manager. I am supportive of such citizens making efforts to show city employees appreciation. It is the proper thing to do, and I hope our other employees can be shown as much gratitude for their dedication to the city. My concern, however, is the potential idea, the suggestion, that instead of holding an objective selection process for city manager, that this Board of Aldermen simply extend Ms. Theron's contract. Southport has a history of utilizing temporary city managers. Often, the North Carolina League of Municipalities assists with the placement of an experienced temporary city manager who makes it clear they are only here in the job until a permanent manager is hired. Ms. Theron entered the city manager's position in that manner, with an emphasis on temporary, that she would only serve until a permanent manager could be hired. To ensure a new manager would be ready to assume responsibilities by her departure in June, the advertisement for city manager was posted and applications have been collected. It is now time to undergo an impartial interview and background checking process to select the city manager for our future. Southport needs to do this to maintain credibility as an employer and as a good steward of our taxpayers' money. Tonight, one of the items on tonight's agenda is a fine example of the city performing business in an objective and honest manner. Tonight, the board will hear a presentation from a real estate firm who is answering the posting of a request for proposal on providing real estate services. I am certain several firms submitted proposals, an evaluation of those applications occurred, and now the board will ask questions to confirm if this is the best firm for the job. An open, fair, objective selection process is the appropriate way to conduct government business. We must do the same with our city manager position. If Ms. Theron is indeed interested in continuing to serve as city manager, she should be welcome to apply and be evaluated along with any of the other highly qualified candidates. The city must conduct its business with fair and honest actions. The city manager position was advertised as open and applications have been accepted. Southport has a duty to treat those applicants with respect and fairness. Doing less will unfortunately leave the impression that Southport is nothing more than a little southern backwater town.
Bonnie Bray.
Hi, Bonnie Bray, 515 Quartermaster Drive in Southport. I wanted to come tonight with a couple of comments about the March 5th Board of Aldermen meeting, which was an effort by the new Rules Committee to orient the full board on the work that they'd been doing. They chose 4 topics, one of which I wanted to speak about tonight. It's the public comment process. And another of the 4 was discussing the range of possibilities that might exist when the city gets involved in a public-private partnership with local nonprofits. A couple of things have happened since I decided to put my name on the list, and that is this sign. Those wishing to speak during public comment must sign up at the table in the entryway. Thank you. Must is underlined. This has not been the practice up to now. In fact, we've enjoyed a full couple of years actually of having some wide open public comment, lack of rules. As long as people maintain decorum, they can stand up here and talk as long as they want. But I want to draw your attention to that meeting, and I would encourage everyone to watch it on the live stream. Alderman Davis is the only one of the sitting aldermen who spoke in favor of an unlimited number of minutes for the public to speak, individuals to speak. I was really taken aback because not because she did the research, but the research that she did revealed, even with all of the, in recent memory, contentious public hearings, the average time of individuals to speak at the podium is certainly way less than 3 minutes. And that goes without saying. Plus, I've been here long enough to know what it felt like, as Alderman Davis reminded us, of what it feels like to be a person standing at this podium, to have your 3 minutes be up and your head chopped off if you don't leave the podium. The last couple of years have been great, and I don't think it's been abused, even in the most recent thing where there have been a lot of very contentious issues. So I would applaud Alderman Davis for bringing that to the board's attention, and I would let you all know that it is not very good optics at all after the latest election that we had, where everybody was campaigning on transparency. It is not good optics, and I hope you decide not to go forward with your plan to cut public comment at 3 minutes. This is scary because this was also one of the suggestions, and it hasn't even been voted on yet. This was a workshop, informational meeting, as far as I could tell. I was there in person and then also watched it again on the video stream, and I would assume that you all will give your own public comment about this very radical change from what we've experienced the last couple of years. The other thing I wanted to very briefly mention was there is, I assume, at least beginning conversation about having the city officials, elected, non-elected, be more involved in the affairs of the targets of money that is being raised by nonprofit organizations, of which we have a great many. We don't have, as far as I know, any existing public-private agreements. Certainly, they're always a good thing to have, so everybody knows what is expected of each party. We have great arrangements, have had for many years, great arrangements with the Maritime Museum, which is a state organization, the Southport Historical Society, on the Visitor Center, the old jail, which is managed by the Historical Society. These arrangements, they're not broke, they don't need fixing. So we'll set those aside for a minute. But there are a whole lot of other organizations, Up Your Arts being one, that raises money in the city and advertises that we are being co-sponsored by the city. When we do the plein air festival, we're allowed to use the parks for free. Otherwise, we'd have to pay. So we have a monetary relationship. We borrow cones from the city. We do the pole banners that go up on the utility poles are hung by city staff. So there are a lot of connections. And what I am hoping is that the Board of Aldermen is not entertaining. It was difficult to tell from the meeting, but it would seem self-defeating to the nth degree if the Board of Aldermen were deciding to be able to control the money that comes in, control the programming that happens, and for all that I could tell, basically be able to exercise veto authority over the goings-on of the nonprofit volunteers who are raising money to promote the city, to help, to benefit city residents. Hopefully this is just the beginning conversation. And I'm looking forward to more conversation about that, and possibly a public hearing if it comes to it, because there are a lot of volunteers out here that make the city run. And to radically change the operating procedures is ill-advised. It ain't broke, it don't need fixing. Thank you.
That is everyone that signed up without a subject, but I do have some comments to read.
Would you please do so, ma'am?
Yes. This one is from Martha Johnson at 227 East 11th Street. Bonnie Therian became our city manager on a temporary basis as the aldermen continued looking for a new city manager. On the city website, Bonnie stated, "For the next 18 months, I will be the city manager for Southport, and I will work with the residents, business owners, staff, the mayor, and the board of aldermen to move the city forward until a permanent city manager is chosen and begins work. With over 30 years of local government experience, I look forward to utilizing my skills to keep all projects moving ahead, beginning work on the 2022-23 budget, and learning about your beautiful community from you. You are blessed to have a great group of employees working for you and a staff that believe in utilizing your tax dollars wisely, efficiently, and effectively. I look forward to working with them as part of the team. If there's anything I can do to assist you, please do not hesitate to contact me by phone or email. Bonnie Therian." Bonnie has done a great job and has helped me. However, she was very clear when we met that her position was temporary and she soon wanted to really retire. Both the past and present aldermen should be searching for a city manager who would like to make a commitment for 5 or 10 years. City managers come and go, but it is time to find a permanent manager. The city's Code of Ordinances explains Southport's form of government and the duties of the city manager in Article 4, Organization and Administration. When Oak Island found out their city manager was retiring, they immediately put together a listening session for citizens and businesses. If you are not familiar as to what a listening session is, it is like a focus group or input session where the goal is to obtain specific information and ideas from a target audience. For example, citizens, business owners, and staff. It's guided by facilitators who ensure participants understand the format and information the session is seeking to obtain. Facilitators also answer questions and keep the participants focused and on schedule. Target questions are provided to enable the participants to brainstorm on the topic at hand. We knew 2 years ago we needed a full-time city manager. Now it is time to come together with Bonnie's experience to find one so she can truly enjoy her retirement in this lovely city of Southport. Thank you. And I have one more that was emailed, but it is regarding one of the public hearings, so we'll...
We're going to make a motion to close public comment. No. Did you sign up, sir?
The sign up said I had to sign up before the meeting started and I showed up late.
Since we're trying this out.
But it doesn't say that up there.
Since we're just trying to ease everybody into this process. Yes, sir, you can talk. The podium is yours.
My name is John Lash. I live at 310 North Fodale Avenue. Mr. Mayor, Aldermen, city staff, I want to commend you all with your ongoing efforts to keep our community of Live Oak Lanes and Salubrious Breezes a village that we all love. Like it or not, our community area is expanding, growing by leaps and bounds. It's like those old clothes that I still have in my closet that haven't fit me in years. Southport, too, has an ever-expanding waistline, metaphorically speaking. Our parking challenges in Southport are part of those expanding community waistlines. So many people have heard about our wonderful community, its gorgeous waterfront views, our quaint village lanes with their majestic live oaks, the historical buildings and churches, historical locations, and our unique shops and restaurants that make up our greater downtown area. I feel all Southport businesses would want as many visitors as possible to discover our community, to walk those live oak lanes and shop and dine to their heart's content. But in order for this to happen, we need to figure out a plan that makes this happen. I propose to you a parking program be established and managed by the police department. This program could address our challenge in one of two ways. This program could create a positive revenue impact. It could pay for itself. It could generate a new income source. Phase one could start in one of two ways. Contract a company to install and manage credit card, debit card parking meters. And we all just sit back and collect our portion of revenues. Or Southport could purchase these meters outright and install and manage them ourselves. Meters could be placed throughout the greater downtown area. And if you've ever come up against a parking spot that has a meter, I'm sure that you would agree with me that's a minor inconvenience, but one that is acceptable. At a minimum, Southport has over 500 spots for parking located on main streets of Moore, Howe, and Bay. Southport could establish a per-hour parking fee. Police enforcement could be as simple as monitoring the meters. Feeding of the meters could be enforced 1 hour before generally accepted hours of operation and end 1 hour after generally accepted business hours close. A meter person assigned to monitor parking meters could issue parking citations to vehicles with expired meters. Phase two, in not the too distant future, we could build a pleasing to the eye, beautifully landscaped 3-story parking garage on Howe Street outside the greater downtown area. In this way, most visitors will automatically see the parking garage as they pass by and could circle back if they can't find available parking. If necessary, eminent domain could be used to acquire dilapidated Howe Street property. Parking in the excuse me. Parking in the garage could be free initially. As vehicles increase in the parking garage, fees could be established. Free shuttle services could take visitors to and from the parking garage to a designated drop-off or pickup area in central downtown. Shuttle services could be offered hourly. Revenues from parking meters could help pay for needed road repairs and help pay for the parking garage and services. I feel that the positives far outweigh the negatives because an aesthetically pleasing parking garage with convenient shuttle services could convey our friendly commitment to increase visitor numbers in the greater downtown area by 50% or more. Increased visitors or tourists means increased customers. Increased customers mean increased revenues for established businesses. This could also generate a more fertile environment for new businesses to grow and expand in the greater downtown area of Southport. I feel the building of a parking garage with services will reduce vehicle congestion, bring in more visitors, and show that Southport cares about its visitors and tourists to our community and wants them to visit us as often as possible. This parking program could have new and immediate positive revenue flow for our village now and for our future. Thank you.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to come out of public comment. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Now, if you get your box scores ready, here come some changes. So I'm going to I'm going to accept a recommendation that we add to the agenda a section for the cemetery committee appointee. Are you making that a motion? Okay. Is there a second to that? Is there any comment? All in favor, say aye, please. Unanimous, thank you. The second one is to delete agenda item J2, which is the underground electrical project. Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Okay. The next one is to add an agenda item for the USDA loan issue. Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. These changes all came up in the last couple of days and after the agenda was posted online. So now we have the approval of the consent agenda, and the consent agenda is in regards to a regular board Alderman meeting minutes from February 5th, a regular board Alderman meeting minutes from February 8th, the Board of Aldermen closed session meetings minutes from February 8th, the Board of Aldermen closed session meeting minutes from February 12th, and the special Board of Aldermen meetings minutes from February 16th. So you can see that we went from one meeting a month to we are doing 6 or 7 now just to get us out of the hole of all the projects. So with that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Is a motion and a second. Is there any comment? All in favor say aye. Thank you very much. The next one is a special presentation from Century 21 Triangle Group Realtor proposal. Marjorie Green, would you please come to the podium? And you'll see a little button in the middle, and just hit that little button.
Well, first I just wanted to thank the staff and the aldermans and the mayor for this opportunity. And to introduce myself and Kelly Caraway. We both work for Century 21. We're both commercial agents. We have at least 15 years experience in the commercial real estate market. We responded to the RFP and are here today to answer any questions you have or go over any specific areas that you wanted to discuss. And I think we have the slides available if there's an area that you wanted to address in particular. I could fast forward to it.
Is there any particular part of the conversation you want to start at? Okay. You can just give us an overview of it, please.
Okay, all right. Oh, did I do it right? Oh, there we go. Okay. So Century 21 commercial has just been ranked the 12th largest commercial company out of 500 in the state of North Carolina and for Century 21. So we're pretty proud of that. Both Kelly and I are one of the top 100 agents in the state as well. Then we were talking a little bit about the services we provide, and we realized that you have some key areas that you need to focus on, and everything that we would be doing would be to assist you to achieve those goals. So the goals of keeping a thriving business district, keeping the historic district looking at trying to expand the greenways and the recreational areas, trying to address some issues that there might be with the town and staffing and requirements with that. So in the proposal, there would be both selling or buying services, so that if you were listing a property, we would be representing you as the sellers. If we were purchasing property, we would be representing you as the buyer's agents. And so with something like buying and selling, there are different responsibilities and different ways in which we would help assist you in that process. We also do leasing, so that if it comes to be that there is a particular building that the city had and maybe doesn't need anymore, we can assist with leasing that out as well and finding tenants. We're affiliated with five other firms in the state of North Carolina, which gives us the ability to be able to reach buyers from across the state. And then in addition to us, that we have a global part of the company, so that we reach the entire country as well as the global market for looking for any buyers on particular properties that you might have. And so I provided a few examples in which we, I provided a few examples in which we worked with cities or towns. The first one was a project in which we met with the town of Sanford to find out about their current future land use plans and where they were really looking to expand, what obstacles that land might have currently, what kind of solutions we could find. And with that, we went and we looked at different properties, and we ended up buying land that we could do a phased approach that fits into the future land use plans, but also, as somebody had mentioned earlier in the public hearing about infrastructure, unfortunately with infrastructure, you have to have the population before you can get the funding. So you're always chasing your tail. There's just no way out of that one, right? So you're always chasing your tail to try to catch up. And so in this case, they had land, but it didn't have access to sewer or water yet, but that they would give us a variance to build a smaller footprint industrial park. But as soon as the water and sewer are available, we already have plans for it to be this major business research and development park there in Sanford. So by working with the city, we really help them achieve, their future, long-term goals for that area. And please feel free to ask me any questions along the way. These are just some pictures of, the different phases. That's phase 2. That's will be the whole place there, and it's on 9 acres. And then there's seller representation. So I wanted to show a little bit about how we market properties here in Southport. So we presented a few that we have. The land there right on Long Beach Road with the brewery. And then in Leland as well. So I covered the Brunswick County area. And then seller agent representation we talked a little bit about. Here's some land also in supply. And then this is a little bit about our team. I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of, we're all trained commercial agents. We all have to go through a training program and be accredited and get our certificate before we actually practice any commercial. That's something that Century 21 does. It's not across the board with other firms, but that's what we do. So any commercial agent that you're going to see here has gone through that process and that training. So I gave Kelly a nice big picture because she'll be the, I think the term on the thing is alternative agent. So Kelly and I are both affiliated with the local Century 21 office on Oak Island, Century 21 Collective. All these agents here are all commercial agents. They're from all over the state, affiliated with the 5 different firms that we affiliate with. The larger boxes are the ones that would probably be the ones that when we work with somebody, we only represent that person. So if we're representing you as the seller, if an unrepresented buyer comes along, then we would turn to one of our agents to take care of them because we don't represent both sides. You would be our clients. Our goal is just to help you and to get you exactly what you need. So we're not order takers, and and that's what would happen if you're representing both sides. And then that's just our directory, so you had access to everybody. Project experience, we talked a little bit about full transparency. We're big on that. We communicate everything, the good, bad, and the ugly. We are very active in the entire process with our clients, going to board meetings, going to planning meetings, meeting on site, with the soil scientists, whatever it takes to help to achieve the goal and the process goes smooth. And it's just a little bit more of our experience for buyers, tenants, seller investors, and for developers as well. And then I actually put together a little kind of like a timeline and a step-by-step on what you could expect through the process so that there aren't any surprises. Both the buyer experience that you would be going through, and then just threw in a little bit of what we've recently sold and leased. And then as a seller, the same thing, what you would be getting from us, how we would be getting started with you, and all the marketing that we would provide. And then these are recently listed. This talks a little bit about the different compatibilities that we have regarding marketing your property. So every property we had its own unique website, digital marketing websites, also on all the commercial sites. And we're pro-listed on these sites. It's not that we just go there and get it for one listing. We have a pro status on all of them so that your listing becomes a silver and gets higher results. Signage. And then we just talk about how we are a global company, that we do a ton of different areas. We do commercial land, retail flex space, tenant owner landlord representation, multifamily, hotels, and also have international real estate services available. This talks a little bit about Century 21 and how much we actually achieved globally and in what countries. And that's it. Do we have questions?
Are there any questions for the presenter? No, Robert, you don't have any questions?
So you've had local listings. Is it mostly CoStar and LoopNet type of thing, or are y'all members of the local or the regional MLS east of 95?
Well,
or is that?
So I'm affiliated with 3 different MLSs. So when I list, I'm sorry, can you hear me okay? So when I list a property, I look at, well, depending on what the property is, where is it going to be best suited when it goes into an MLS? Is it going to be best suited in the Charlotte area if I promote it there, or is it going to be best suited in the Wake County area, or is it going to be best suited, in the coastal area? And so depending upon which one of those MLSs would depend on which Century 21 firm I would use to do the contract under. It's all very specified. And then, but on the commercial sites, we're on everything. I also did for my buyers, I created a website just for buyers that pulls from all of the MLSs. Because what you'll typically see on commercial sites like Crexy and, let me go back to that so you can see all of them, because there are an awful lot that we're in. But the one thing that happens in those sites is that if a residential agent in one of these towns lists a commercial property, they don't have access to these sites. So they just put it in MLS. Well, that's an opportunity that might be a good opportunity for somebody that gets overlooked. So because of that, I actually created a website that incorporates all of those MLSs so that you can see all commercial properties that are for sale.
Any other questions? So I'll ask a couple of questions because I think I'm the lone non-realtor maybe here. And I want some things to be explained. I actually know some of the answers, but make sure that the audience, the people at home, understand it. The reason why we're looking for somebody to do this business is to represent our interests exclusively. So if there's something wrong with the property, there's something out there that we need to know about, we're dependent on that person to do it. Normally, if you're looking at a piece of property and the seller and the realtor you're dealing with, they're looking out for the seller of the property. I got that right, Robert?
Well, when listing agents are supposed to do a lot of due diligence before they list the property, and a buyer's agent should do the same. So are you asking what kind of due diligence we would do?
No, I'm asking for the audience. I'm saying why we're asking for a company to help us is that I want them only to be looking for our best interest.
Right. You want exclusivity.
You mentioned that, but I just want to
Right.
clarify. That's why
Yes.
we're having this discussion, is because we've been doing it. Do you envision this, that the people in your office are going to come here and try to sell us a lot of property over which we didn't even ask for? Or is this, we come to you and say, we are looking for a piece of property to do X,
Right.
or we're looking to sell a piece of property? And at
Correct.
that point, the business end would start.
Correct.
We would be here to serve you, however you deem that would be necessary.
Okay.
And we're not here to pitch anything or pitch ourselves. I mean, it's all about service and what's best for y'all to make things good for you.
Okay, so at this point, are you done with your presentation, ma'am?
Yep. Yes. Unless you have any other questions, we're good. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
Okay.
Rich,
Well, hold on, I'm sorry.
In the interest of transparency for the public, we have 4 realtors on the board and licensed agents, I'm sorry. In order to take ourselves out of potential conflict of interest, we are looking to have somebody sort of on standby for us, so that way we preclude ourselves from any potential issues going forward.
that's smart. Yeah.
I think I'm maybe the one that originally suggested that we look for our own real estate agent. And my thinking was, well, we're looking for places in town that we could expand into. And it's just kind of counterproductive to have any of us or the city manager go knock on a door and say, hey, you thinking about selling? To help us find properties that might be right, to help us negotiate whether this would be a good property for us to buy and what the price would be and so on. I'm not looking, speaking only for myself, but I think for this board, I'm not looking to acquire property outside the city limits, because the things that we need property for or need a way to expand into all have to be in the city limits anyway. The big question I have is, since what I'm describing would make you a buyer's agent, what is the way you get compensated for that, and how much?
So there is additional slides. I wasn't sure if you guys wanted to go through that portion.
I do.
Okay, so there's the listings agent. So there is, obviously, in the proposal, there would be opportunity for us to represent you in either way, as the buyer or as the seller, depending upon what your needs were. So it's all driven by your needs. And then we would represent you solely in that capacity, and we would do it confidentially. We would not disclose who our client is until we get to the point where we're actually negotiating an LOI or a contract. Okay. So there's two parts, and usually when you're doing, you have cooperating agents, and that would be the other side. So if you're the buyer, then that would be the selling side's agent. So there's always two sides. So with the seller landlord, we do sorry. With seller landlord, we do a 6% sales price of the total lease term. And then we split that with the cooperating agent. So that would be, if this case you were the landlord, it would be the tenant agent's rep, and they would get 3%. We split everything 50-50. We're here to make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest for you, and we want to make sure that it's fair and equitable for everybody. So at a 6%, with no cooperating, because then that means that we'll have double the amount of paperwork to do. And then we do a 10% option fee because commercial properties take so long to close. And if the contract passes the due diligence period but then still doesn't close, then there would be the earnest money that was deposited that you would then keep, and we would hopefully get 10% of that. That would be for all the time that we spent on something like that. Bless you. Then on the buyer-tenant side, we do a 3% sales price, and that would be on the 3% of the sales price of the total land, total lease term. And then if it's for the buyer-tenant, again, it's 6% if there's no cooperating, and then 3% if the commission is less than 3%, because sometimes if I'm representing you as a buyer, the seller might not want to pay 3%, and so you would be paying the difference of what that is. And that's it.
Are there any other questions?
Is that remarkably or in any way different from standard operating procedure for commercial real estate?
There is no set commission, as all the agents here can tell you, but I think that they will agree that that is customary. How's that word? Average, maybe, would be a better one to use.
Typically, land has a 10% commission, raw land. Is that true in commercial or not?
10, 12, it really depends, because we're working with, usually land, because there's so much research involved on our end to get everything going, and it takes longer to sell, it usually goes higher, 12, 10. We're building a relationship here, and we're representing you, so everything would just be 6, regardless. Thank you for asking that question.
So normally, something is listed on like a MLS service, and there are agreements set out in writing of how much each side would get.
Correct.
Most of the things you'll be doing here are going to be private purchases from a seller who is not committed to any commission.
Correct.
So that's where the rubber hits the road for us, is there, how will you get paid, that kind of thing, because these are mostly going to be private deals that we already know about.
Right, and that's where that less than 3% comes in, so that if it's less than 3, then you would be paying the difference, or the 3%.
I don't think I caught this. I didn't clock it in your presentation.
Want me to go back?
Have you specifically represented a municipality in North Carolina in a purchase or a sale of property?
Sanford. We work directly with Sanford. I'm sorry, Sanford. We work directly with Sanford. That was the first example with the research park, where we're doing the two-phase development to fit into the current infrastructure, but the future land. So we're building onto it along with them.
I ask because the processes and procedures are very specifically unique, and also there are transparency issues, surprising ones.
Any other questions? So unless somebody has a motion to make, I'm going to make just a general comment. This is a learning experience for us. We're going to take your information and digest it, especially those of us who are not agents, and digest it and try to figure out the best thing. I'm pretty sure the board is committed to doing something along these lines, but we're going to have to mull this all over and consult with our attorney, which we have not yet done on the specifics of it. Then we're going to have to have, if we make a decision somewhere along the line, we'll have to have the manager then work to put all this in writing and all of that stuff. But for tonight, I want to thank you very much. This is quite educational for me, and thank you, and I hope you have a good evening.
No, thank you very much, and feel free to reach out if you come across any questions you need answered.
Thank you. Okay, based on the latest legal advice I got 20 minutes ago, apparently when we go into public hearings, I can do that without a motion. To come out of the public hearings, I needed to do a motion. So I just want to make sure everybody realizes that I actually didn't make a mistake here. So I'm going to go into public hearing, and the first one is the public hearing text amendment, mixed uses in highway commercial. And Mo, you're going to do that for us, ma'am?
Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen. This evening, I am bringing before you for an overview for a public hearing, a zoning map amendment. This is a applicant, S&G Holdings, has submitted a text amendment that requests to allow mixed uses in the highway commercial zoning district, specifically to, well, how do I do that? Oh my God, this isn't the right one. I apologize. They're specifically for table 3.1 is the table of uses and permitted with standards for mixed uses in the highway commercial, and section 3.7F, which is the residential use standards, which would be adding highway commercial to those standards. Currently, mixed uses are allowed in the planned unit development, office and institutional, central business district, and the business district. The highway commercial districts are specifically start at the four corners of highways 87 and 211. They go up highway 87 and off to a portion of Rob Gandy Boulevard, and then up to 11 adjacent to Dutchman and within Dutchman Village and the Midway Commons. The future land use map for all of the highway commercial areas are heavy commercial, and those land uses do allow a density of 4 units per acre. So that is a quick overview of the proposal. Again, this is a text amendment that would allow mixed uses in a highway commercial zoning district.
Is there any questions from the board? Okay. Mo, could I ask you to do me a favor?
Yes, sir.
Can you turn that into English for me?
I'm sorry?
Can you turn that into English for me? What will
Yes.
this allow the
Okay.
average person to understand
So
what
a
the
mi-
proposal is going
yes.
to do?
So this would allow a mixed use, which would be a property that has both commercial and residential uses together on it. So you could have a lower level retail offices with upper levels with residential that would be allowed. So currently, they are not allowed in the highway commercial areas.
But they are allowed like down in the lower section here?
That's correct, yes.
So this would be not something brand new to the city?
No,
Like
an example would be the shops where Loco Joe's, and there's the jewelry store and the wine shop and Cat on a Whisk, and then there are residential units above it. So that's an example of a mixed-use property.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is a public hearing on this topic. So is there anybody who's here to speak on this particular subject? Okay. We'll go on to the next topic.
Motion to go out of public hearing?
No, we can run one into the other. Okay. So the next one is a public hearing, zoning map amendment for Robert Rock Drive. And again, Mo will give an overview of that. We'll go into public comment. We'll sit here and take all of that information in, but we're not going to be debating the topic. And then it will come back to us next month for a vote, and that at that point, there'll be discussion from the board, just to give you a heads up. Ma'am, it's yours.
Thank you. This is also an applicant requested submitted zoning map amendment request for an approximate 8-acre parcel of land on Robert Rourke Drive that's requesting a change from R20 to R10. And I'd like to remind everyone that a zoning request does not allow the applicant to propose the project or a site plan. Decisions on a rezoning must consider all permitted uses and the proposed district in relation to the land use impacts, the character of the district, and the suitability for certain uses within this area that they're proposing. So the property is specifically located, as I said, on Robert Rourke Drive. It is adjacent to Cades Cove, which is a planned unit development, Smithville Shopping Center, which is zoned highway commercial, and is across the street from Southport Way, which is also a planned unit development. The future land use designation for this piece of property is low-density residential, which will allow 2 to 3 units per acre. Accessory uses and residential uses for both the R20 and the R10 zoning districts are the same. There are no changes. The R20 minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet with a minimum lot width of 100 feet. And then the R10 is a minimum lot width of, or minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet with a minimum lot width of 75 feet.
Is that it, ma'am?
That is it.
Is there anybody here who came to speak on this particular topic? Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Tommy Sheets. I'm with Headwaters Engineering. I'll be the civil engineer for this project. I'll start out by saying before this project, we put together a due diligence report, investigating, doing some preliminary research. I reached out to planning, stormwater, DOT, utilities, and did not identify any deficiencies for this site. We are asking the city to allow us to rezone from R20 to R10 because we think 10,000 square foot lots fit well in this area and are similar to those in the surrounding neighborhoods. The planning board has recommended this request for approval, and we ask you do the same. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
You'll have to come back next month for that part of the discussion, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else here to speak? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Good evening, Board of Aldermen, Mr. Mayor, fellow citizens. I am Brian Stevens and reside at 503 Cage Trail in Southport. I come asking you to keep the 8-acre Robert Rourke tract R20, vice the requested change to R10. Let's not put concrete in place of conservancy. If you were here during the 1,000-year flood of 2018, Hurricane Florence, then you know the severity of flooding. What's easily predictable is the erratic and devastating weather is likely. Also likely is the increase of severity of damage because we've done nothing to mitigate against catastrophe. The Robert Rourke 8-acre tract should be left at R20 to help the rest of Southport with the absorption, percolation versus runoff. During Florence, I saw houses and yards flooded. I saw the fire department help a neighbor at 12th and Lord pump out his flooded yard. A year later, that house was put up for sale and sold, likely to some unsuspecting buyer who was happy to buy his piece of paradise. A common sense approach is not to see how many houses we can build, but how smartly we can sustain life in our changing coastal environment. Building less is more beneficial to the homeowner, his neighbors, and our community.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Go ahead, sir.
Frank Poplars, 1023 Captain Atkins Drive, just a little bit south of where they're planning their rezoning. The fellow from Harbor Oaks, are you still here? Yes. I'm going to try to address something that you said. I was on the Board of Adjustments for almost 10 years, and one of the biggest frustrations I had was the planning board's inability to say what the impact that change in zoning will have on the city. They have to go by the CMA or they have to go by the UDO to decide if it's good or bad. But it's not saying it's a good or bad for the city. It just meets all the requirements, and that's the case here. The thing that we have to look at is this rezoning, it will satisfy, and Mo will tell you that, the CMA 2014 land planning use. It'll also, when they do their development or their plans, it'll address all the UDO for an R10 because they will make sure that there will be nothing that Mo or you can find to say, we don't want to do that. What you have to find is realize, do you want to increase the growth of Southport? That's what you campaign. So do you really want to go from maybe 18 to 20 homes to 35 to 40 homes on the 8-8? Now, if you remember a fellow by the name of Mr. Perry from East-West Partners, profit, guilty as charged. That's what they want to do, is profit by expanding R20 to R10. Now, the thing that you have to, as new administrators, campaigned that you wanted to control the density of Southport. There's a lot of people who talked about, we don't need to grow anymore. We have infrastructure issues as it is. So if we're going to do it, this is your first challenge to say, no, we're not going to. This is the most densely populated area. If you go around there, and that doesn't even include Osprey Landing, which is not even anywhere near being finished. So when you put all that together in Robert Ruark at that traffic light, and just remember somewhere in the background, East-West and Bald Head Island still is looking at that property, and some way or another, they want to get their PUD out of R20. So the point is, Mo can't tell you if this is good or bad for the city. Is it good economic decision for the city, infrastructure issues, but every time you make a change like this, it's going to impact the city probably more than the tax value you're going to get out of it. So your campaign said you were going to try to do this, control it. This is your opportunity. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to speak? Ma'am, you have some letters?
Yes, sir, I do. The first is from Sarah, not Sarah Thomas, Tracy Loving. We are out of town tonight, so we would not be able to attend, but thanks for sharing. We, David and Tracy Loving of Cades Cove, directly off of Robert Rourke, disagree in the rezoning of the land directly behind us. There are many reasons for this. We are disappointed that the little bit of land behind us will soon be filled with houses, and even more disappointed that the number of houses will double if the approval to go from R20 to R10 takes place. Our yard on all sides is already filled with deer and other animal excrement because of so many of them have already been cleared out of their lifelong homes. It is only going to be worse if even more land is taken away from them. They have nowhere to go. The developments around us recently have taken away so much environmental space. There is also concern of the alligator that lives directly on the other side of the woods and the retention pond between the woods and the shopping center. Having many people and houses invading that space may create problems with the alligator's food sources and may cause it to become increasingly dangerous as it will be looking for food at the closest locations at the nearby homes. Environmental issues are many factors that will be affected by the increase in housing numbers. We are disappointed to lose what privacy we have and to have to deal with even more traffic coming onto Robert Rourke. The backup and extra long-lasting 4-minute stoplight is already an ongoing issue. Envisioning the impact of even more houses, more traffic on Robert Rourke, the increased risk of damages to the communities by flooding from the removal of so much established rooting, and the concern for the animals have all become an important environmental issue that we feel is not being considered. Remember the signs and saying, "Don't change Southport, let Southport change you"? This keeps being forgotten as each piece of Southport is stripped away. We didn't move to a new small town for it to be the next big town. Every bit of land cleared and the houses built makes a difference, a big difference. Please consider this as you make your decisions. It's not just about these houses, it's about the overall value and quality of Southport. Thank you for sharing the concern. Then I have one from Beth Whiteaz, maybe? I hope that's how you say it. Hello, I hope you're doing well. I am writing because I own the property at 404 Cades Trail, which is directly behind the property on Robert Rourke, that is up for a vote to allow more properties to be built on the very small piece of land. This entire process has been extremely rushed and not well communicated. Increasing the density for building on this property will have tremendous effects from a flooding perspective as well as wildlife. The land adjacent to my house and this piece of property is protected because of various important species of birds and I believe longleaf pine. It also puts more pressure on Robert Rourke as well as the Cades Cove neighborhood since the town continues to delay allowing us to gate that entrance. The amount of traffic continues to increase and will only get worse if you add double the housing right outside the community entrance. In addition to requesting at minimum delay in this vote, but ultimately a decline or a denial of this request, I also ask that the town please allow the community of Cades Cove to enact a gate to prevent the excessive cut-through that is happening. These are private streets and are maintained as such, meaning members of the neighborhood have to bear the expense. Please for today deny this request to expand housing on this piece of property. The effects on the environment will be detrimental. Thank you. And I already have read the other one that I have, so we're good.
Okay, last call. All right, just so you, I'm sorry, it's part of my vernacular. Once again, a reminder, this will come back up next month. There'll be discussion from the board. We'll be asking questions. There's public comment. That's at the public comment section of it. You can comment again if you want to. And we'll be more engaging in the topics because we want a month between the announcement and when we vote so that we have time to digest all the information that came to us as opposed to not listening to people or not comprehending what people are trying to say. We actually have conversations and try to get the best thing out of that. So with that, I will entertain a motion to come out of the public hearing. There's a motion and a second. Any comment? All in favor, say aye. No opposed. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. I'm going to scan the board here. Does anybody need a 5-minute break? Yes. Okay. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. I'd like to call the meeting back into order, please. We're going to start with agenda item J1, which is a request for ARPA funds for the camera project for the police department. And Chief Coring will discuss this. This is not the body cameras. These are other cameras, and he'll explain that to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Board. I appreciate you allowing me to stand before you tonight just requesting some funding with the ARPA money to implement another portion of our citywide camera project. Like the Mayor was saying, we have body-worn cameras, but they are under a separate type of policy and procedure and whatnot. These are just cameras we have that we've been installing around some of our city infrastructure and along the streets. It's done pretty much nationwide now. It's been very helpful with several crimes that we've had here in Southport. We've been successful using the cameras. So this is just the next area. We've got a grid. I talked with the manager early on, and she asked that I try to put together a plan so we have a systematic grid of where we want to implement them. So this Bay Street corridor is just the next area.
No, is that, are you done, sir?
Yes, sir, unless y'all have questions. I mean, okay. Everything seems to be here.
Are there any questions from the board? Is there a motion there?
I'll make a motion to appropriate $7,300 from the capital fund to purchase cameras along Bay Street to be used for emergency purposes and investigations.
There's a motion and there's a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye and raise your hand, please. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
We thank you very much, and if you need us, call 911. Have a good evening.
Okay, we did away with J2. That was the underground. The next one is the city manager search, and the city manager will talk about that.
Yes, the deadline for the city manager search was March 11th at 5 o'clock. You received 47 applications. There are some excellent ones in that group. So what I need to get from you is a process of how you want to move forward. There's many, many ways you can do this, but I do need to have some guidance here to help you through this. So I'm assuming you're not going to interview 47 people, so how are you going to review resumes? Do you want a subcommittee? Is it the full board? Do you want us to try to whittle it down, Patty and I, to a reasonable number? That's one question. I don't know if you want to go one by one or...
Yeah, I think we would do one by one, but I heard like multiple questions in that one question. So I'm just saying. So I think the first thing is do we want a subcommittee to interview people? And I know for me, that is not a good way to go because we're all going to have to work with the manager. So we all should meet each one of them. That whatever number it is that we interview, all 7 of us interview that person.
I agree with that. That's the way to go.
Okay. Is there anybody who objects to that? Okay. So one of the options was to have, like, let's just say a 3-person ad hoc committee do the interviewing of the candidates. And I'm suggesting that the entire board sit down and interview the candidates since this is one of the most critical positions we're going to have in the city.
Oh, well, also, I'm sorry.
Okay, but if we were to do that, will we have winnowed down the number of candidates? I mean, if we've got, what was it, 47 applicants?
Correct.
Yeah, I guess my intent was that we'll knock off each one of those things one at a time to give guidance to the manager how we go forward. So I would not suspect that we're going to interview 47 people. Okay.
So who is the... I'd like to hear our human resources director make recommendations for what's the best way to go about this, frankly, before we make any decision tonight. We can make the final decision on how we're going to approach on the first meeting in April, coming up in 2 weeks.
Well, we'll take that under consideration. Alderman Carroll?
I think that there's been some whittling down, right? Ms. Bonnie, you worked on some stuff along with our HR director?
Yes, basically, I've already had asked Patty to get me all the people who've been assistants or managers. And that was, if I remember right, the number was 24. So you have a good pool of the 24. Out of that, I can tell you there's some definite yeses, because I've done this a few times for other towns. There's some maybes, and then there's no. So, I mean, I think within the 24.
And,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Well, what I was going to say is, individually, the board members could get those 20 whatever, and then we pick the 5 or 6 or 7 that we individually think, and then we come together. That's Mark's nodding his head, because that's how we've done it in the past. And then that way everybody's seen it, everybody, and then you have the ones, and it usually works out. It usually meshes, and then we come together as a board and go through our picks. That's been a way to do that.
I guess something for consideration, if we decide to go in that direction, is that we give the manager and the HR director a chance to look at our picks to say, did you really see this, or did you really know that?
They could be present.
Just so we don't overlook something in our, as we're doing stuff.
And when that was done before, obviously that was before my time, did we have an HR director at that point in time, or was that prior to having an HR director that? Okay, so with that in mind, I think it's great for us to see all of them, but I think we need to lean on the people that we hired. And when we hire professional people, we need to make sure that we're confident in what they're doing and the people that they recommend to us. I think that there's value in us seeing that, but we definitely need to make sure that we are trusting our staff to do what they're hired to do.
What you normally do in a process like this is you have the HR people and whoever take a look at all the candidates. You've got a job description. You go through who meets these categories, who's got these skill sets, and you start weaning them down. And you come down, if you got 47, if we've come up with 24, that's unreal. That's a huge number. 10% is usually about the best you're going to come up with, in my experience. So they've already done a good job of vetting them down. Then we can take a look at them, say, okay, these are the ones that we feel that we want to talk to, and go from there. Because we want to streamline the process, but we also want to get it done as quickly as we can and as fairly as we can.
I'm good with us seeing the applications. I don't have any problem with that. I think that I'd certainly want to know what HR and city manager think are their top 7. I'd like to, I mean, I don't want to have to go through the 24 and guess.
And they would be part of the process. Whenever we meet, they would be in the room also.
I would like to see maybe a 6 to 8 person first round of the top candidates, and then we go from there, but have access to all the applications if we want to look at them.
So I think we're already at that.
A question for Mark. You mean all 47, or the ones that
No, you're right.
specifically meet our
20,
requirements?
The 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot
So
of-
we've already got down to 7, I think, already. With the top 7?
There's 7 that I think are very strong.
So we just have to crosswalk that against our HR director.
Can I just say one? The only thing I want to tell you guys, finding a city manager is not easy. You need to move fast. You've seen on the planning director, Dory and I've been through this with this planning director thing. You could wait 1 week and you've lost the best. So that's the only thing. I mean, if you go through 24, you better give yourself a short time to look at these things. That's all I'm going to say, because you're going to lose them.
I think we need to put some trust in the people that have already weaned it down to 7. They're pretty smart people from what I've seen. Let's lean on them.
I agree.
And
Let's
go from there.
look at the ones that, the people that we have hired who are professionals at doing this. They've said, okay, these are the people that really have a good possibility of doing the job well. Let's just look at those first, and if none of us can agree on them, well, let's expand and cast the net a little wider.
I think that's a good idea. Are there other questions we need to answer? Yeah.
The only other thing, I don't need to do 4, we can wait on that. The only other one, well, actually 2 others. Do you want to have a public input session from the public, as I'm sure all of you read, Oak Island did that? Do you want to have input from department heads? Do you want to kind of sit, what kind of characteristics do you want? Or, I don't know, you may want to skip that, I don't know.
I think your time is of the essence, is what we need to be focused on.
If we have what we think are qualified people in those 7, the HR department and whatnot, and current city manager have gone through, they've vetted them, they've taken a look at everything that they meet, they have the skill sets we need. There's been a lot of work done. Time is of the essence. We had a similar situation when we were trying to get a new city clerk. We wheeled it down to 2, and then we waited about an extra 30 minutes and lost one. So time is of the essence here. We need to move, because this person's got to have some time to sit down with Bonnie and lay everything out. We're going to have, whoever this person is, whatever skill sets they bring in, Bonnie's going to have to Southportize them.
So with that in mind, would we say that we're in agreement that with that 7, we need to move forward in looking at interviewing those 7, and then perhaps, you know, if we want to look at the other resumes, we have access to them and can?
I've done this before. It seems like we can do about 4 a day. Seems like we've gone through interviews and can do 4, 6 a day. Is it an hour and a half? How long are we going?
Well, there's a couple things I just thought. I was going to make one suggestion. That's not going to work because I'm not here tomorrow. So Monday, I could have Patty send you the 7 so that you can take a look at them. And then you got to turn around fast, though, and just kind of let me know. I forgot what I was going to say. What did you just ask, Mark?
Is the time frame for interviewing them, can we get it all done in one day?
So what you could do, that's what I was going to say, thank you. What you could do, because there's some that are from all over the country, is do some Zoom interviews. You know, that's usually what ends up happening, or you're going to be paying for a lot of these people to fly in here. You know, just do, and then if you could get yourself down to 3 or 5 or whatever you want, or whoever you want.
My question is pretty much directed to you and probably to Frank as well, who, you know, has a long career in human resources. Would it be good for us to get the 7 and return them to Bonnie with rated, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the ones in order of what we think would be the better choices, by preferences? Do you want that or not?
Based on their resume alone?
Yes, at that point. So we would have a sense of, let's say, number 7, this is totally hypothetical, everybody. Let's say number 7 is in Alaska. Okay, before we fall in love with number 7, let's be sure that number 7 is in fact everybody's number 1, or number 1, 2, or 3.
We can go through and take a look at those people, if that's number 7, and us do kind of another thinning and rank them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then kind of bring all those together and kind of see how do they fit with all of us. Try to do some more thinning down. You know.
Right. I agree, Frank, because I think it helps me to hear what y'all are saying, because I might have seen something a different way, and then you go, oh, well, what about this, this, and this? And I go, oh, that didn't occur to me. So I think we need the dialogue. We have to together have a dialogue about them.
I was just going to say, the other thing you could do, Rebecca just said it too, is you have a closed session, because you've got to keep this confidential. And We need it as soon as possible, though.
So I have a bunch of other questions, but let's just work on this one topic. I think there's a consensus here about the 7 people, and we'll do the top 7. And if we got them on Monday, could we get them all read by Wednesday? Let's put some timelines on it. And then if we're going to do it by Wednesday and we're going to get them back to the manager, she doesn't have to wait for Wednesday to start the next phase, which is to start setting several public notices out for closed session. This is going to be more, at least I hope it's going to be more, speaking just for myself, more than I get 2 questions and that's the end of the storyline, and because we need to ensure that we do this correctly. Part of that is I'm going to suggest that the manager and the staff do a full-blown review on public social media. What have these people put out there? What have they been talking about? You can learn a lot from people that have issues about their issues because they love to tell you about their issues. And we should probably know that if any of the 7 have those problems. And everybody does this now. That you can't get hired as a cop in Virginia unless they've done your social media. So that's a thing that I would like. I don't know in the stage, because I'm not the HR specialist, do we do an NCIC check on them? While we're looking at the 7, we're not holding everything up. Everything's moving along for us reading it. But do we do an NCIC check? Can we do that? I don't even know if we can do that in the state. I'm not familiar with it.
No, I think you're too early to do that.
To do that one?
With 7. If you got down to 3, yes.
Okay.
But 7, no.
All right. When you say you can't do this, are you talking about the NCIC check or are you talking about the social media?
No, the NCI check.
Okay, all right.
Some of these folks, I'm just guessing this, probably haven't told their current employer that they're looking. And we don't want to blow their cover.
Any chance we could get the 7 maybe tomorrow? And
I'm going to try. I have to use the police to do that. He knows what I'm talking about. I will do everything I can to talk to Patty on our drive to wherever we're going tomorrow, my husband and I, and see if we can make it work. If not, it'll be as soon as I can.
Okay, so there's some other logistical things. I don't know that we have to resolve them tonight, because I think the biggest thing is we've decided on 7, we decided on Wednesday, all of that stuff. But I would hope that you mull over in your minds that this is going to be several meetings. This is going to be probably several meetings, okay? We have budget meetings coming, so that 1 meeting a month thing is flown out the window again, and we'll just keep plugging along. But if we can get the first part done, get the resumes to us, we get them back by Wednesday, we racked and stacked them as best we can, based strictly on the resumes, which could be accurate, may not be accurate. But and then we move on to stage 2, which is probably a closed session to have it. So
yeah, I was just going to say, it would, if we want to move fast, if Dory could send something out tomorrow to you guys to say, when are you available? So we could set that closed session up ASAP, right after Wednesday.
And I would even, we can advertise a closed session and then not use it, right?
Except you need a date and a time?
Yeah, no, I mean, pick a date and a time and advertise it, and just in case we need it in our back pocket, we
Right,
can
but I
back it
think
up.
she just needs to reach out to you guys and say, what do you got?
Well,
Is
we're going to send
anyone
that to her anyways.
Is anyone opposed to something as soon as Wednesday? Bring our rankings with us? And talk?
Amongst ourselves?
Yeah. I mean, because
I
I'd
have
love
no-
to get input.
I have no problem with that. Okay, so we could have because we still have time to announce a closed session, right?
We need 48 hours. The only building that might be available is Nash Street, possibly, because Indian Trail and this building are occupied.
Do we know about Do you know what time you're talking about? Because we've got commitments and.
Well, we're going to have to work around your commitments then. We're talking about Wednesday? I don't even know what I'm doing.
Afternoon?
I'm good all day, so whatever you guys whittle it down. You want to do in the afternoon? That's good with me.
I'm
You-
open until 2 o'clock.
So how soon, Karen, can you do it? In the morning? Like in the late morning?
Nash Street Station is only available after 12.
That's not going to give Rebecca enough time, 1 hour.
Well, if we do noon to 2,
That should be enough time.
Yes.
I can't, no, I don't think I can get there at noon. I can't, I'm getting a crown.
Excuse me. Chief Drew just volunteered the EOC if you would like to use that.
It's not, they can't come up with this, that's the problem.
What about Thursday, the 21st? I'm totally flexible. Yeah. But Thursday, the 21st, what about
I
that?
have a required Board of Election meeting
At what time?
at 10.
Well, I'm available anytime that day, so.
And after 2, I can't.
So noon, how long is that meeting going to last?
Well, Frank,
Mr. Mayor, I'm out of town next week. I'll figure it out. You set a date, I'll figure it out.
What about Tuesday?
It's
What about
Levi's
Tuesday?
spring break, I'm not sure, but
Well, the problem's going to be if I can't get these apps to you guys. What did we land on?
What about
have-
9 on Friday?
yeah, I'm available all day Friday, too.
that's fine.
Well, if we could do it in the afternoon, like from 1 o'clock on, because there's an RPO meeting on Friday. Okay?
Friday, the 22nd in the afternoon.
No, Friday the 15th. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong month. I'm in the wrong week. Holy moly.
22nd in the afternoon. 22nd in the morning, at what time?
Morning, 22nd?
The 22nd at 9 a.m.? There we go.
Oh, my God, it's a miracle.
Is it at the substation?
Yeah.
Can we get in a calendar invite for that,
Don't worry
please?
about that, Flo. We'll get you the address. I just want to get the date and time down.
We'll figure the location later, you tell us, and could you send out a calendar reminder?
Yes, I will. And the community building is actually available until 3:30. So
Well, look, we can do the fire station and it's closed. Yeah. No, he's talking about the real fire station. The EOC room upstairs.
Even the training room.
Yeah. The real fire department. The Taj Mahal. Yes, well, I'll get you there. All right, so
That's the first of many meetings.
yep.
And then?
Well, we'll look, get this knocked out and then we'll go on. But I do hope that the staff can get somebody who's a lot smarter than me, knows how to do social media checks to see what they're out there. In this day and age, I would almost guarantee that one of the 7 has something there.
I once had a job candidate that I was very high on, but I did then look at his Facebook page, and all of his pictures and all of his posts were about all of his drunken exploits. So no.
Oh, it's what?
All right. The The next item is the Sunny Point update.
I'm just going to start by saying nothing is easy. That's for dang sure. So, since the last time we met, I have been in touch with North Carolina Wildlife and the county and Matsu. And currently, North Carolina Wildlife has agreed that the county could put it on that piece of property for a future water tower, which actually would be a plus. I know the chief and I, fire chief and I were talking today, for the fire department would be huge, a plus win. But North Carolina Wildlife has to check with the funders of the money that they're going to use to buy the property. As of today, they had not heard back from them. So we don't have an unknown there. Then we have Matsu. So Matsu has started to reorganize all of the different people that are going to be working on land acquisitions or land-related types of things. So I got a whole new bunch of people. We sent the map to them of where the county wants to put that. Matsu came back today and basically said, we're going to take another look at this, but it has to be at a level higher than Southport's Matsu. So that's going to take a while. So I'm not sure what the board wants to do, but there's still unanswered questions from Wildlife and from Matsu.
And thank you for all this. This has been quite the puzzle. What I will say is that previously the city had approval to do a whole sewer plant on the Bethel Road side. So most of this is just a procedural thing. So I would like to say that pending the outstanding approval by North Carolina Wildlife's funding sources and Matsu regarding the dedication of the 5 acres to Brunswick County for a future water tower site, I'd like to make a motion to instruct the city manager, with pending that, to enter into an agreement with North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission for the sale of the city's property located adjacent to Sunny Point. The terms of the agreement to include the sales price of $637,551, which is less the 15 acres at about approximately $1,500 an acre that we are retaining. The city of Southport to retain 10 acres to be used as a debris field and laydown yard. Brunswick County to retain 5 acres adjacent to Bethel Road for the future use as a county water tower site. Certainly with the understanding that the remaining approximately 426 acres are to be placed in conservation with the state in perpetuity.
I just, since we have a motion and a second, it's discussion time. Having had discussions with the former Matsu commander, and he made it very clear that the Pentagon has changed the rules and that they would never have approved the sewage plant in Carolina Beach, which is in the blast zone, and they were allowed to do that because the commander said they could. And they were going to be very restrictive about what they were going to put in. Now that commander, every 3 years is a new one. So that commander's gone, so I do not know what this new reconfiguration of the new commander is, but I just want to point out that there was a change of position by the Pentagon about what could or could not happen there.
Well, we as a city are not looking to put anything there. The county is contemplating a water tower, so if they don't do that, we end up with 15 acres instead of 10. And I bet you we'd find plenty of debris to put on it as a laydown field. So whether the county ends up with the 5 acres, using it for the water tower, or passes on it, it's either 10 or 15 acres that we're going to take away and keep for ourselves in this transaction. And I suggest that it just be 15. We agree now, pending all of the outcome of the issues, that we agree that we are going to sell 426 acres to NC Wildlife.
I have a question, and I don't know if the board would know or if our city manager would know, or if this is an attorney question, I don't. So North Carolina Wildlife then would own the majority of that property. What's to stop the state of North Carolina from then taking that over at some point to put in a 4-lane highway for a port in Southport, because they're that much closer to the water at that point in time?
Because we put a deed restriction in the transaction that says just what we said. The understanding is that it will remain in conservation with the state in perpetuity.
And there's that blast zone issue.
Well, they decommission. You see what I'm saying? Like as we look at the future of this area, we've seen other areas where nuclear power plants are decommissioned, where military bases are decommissioned, and we need to look at the future of what we want Southport to look like. And if this is just a small piece in a larger chess match, we need to think through that.
Well, it's already surrounded by land. It has land adjacent to it that wildlife already owns. It's part of the whole green swamp conservation parcels. So this is just another piece that needs to be in that because it's actually more environmentally rich than the ones they have. So that it really needs to go into conservation, and everything we've had, it's recognized as a natural heritage site and all of that. So I don't think, I hear what you're saying, but I think by doing a deed restriction, we can ensure the future of it.
I think during our last meeting, I don't know what the motion was. I don't think any of us know what the motion was, but the intent was certainly, well, we know the intent. And so I'm certainly in favor of this and pushing it forward and not seeing it here again.
I have to agree with that.
And so we're instructing the manager to ensure that those sentences on perpetuity is going to be put in there. Okay. Because I'm not sure how that will play with the wildlife people or not. There's other things afoot in the wind, whether they come true or not. If you put that in there and they accept that, I'm assuming, even if it's the state, does the state have to always live with it?
Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that. I mean, you do have like a rule against perpetuities, which is one of the most confusing law doctrines. But essentially, I think that is correct. And you know, I trust with the conversations that this board has, especially Karen, you know, there's ways that the state goes about doing that. And I would assume it would, you know, bind them to leave it in conservancy.
Okay. Could I ask you to... whatever the vote is, the vote will be the vote. But while we're waiting for this all to transpire, could I ask you to just double check that? I just want to make sure that there's not some loophole that says that they don't have to do it.
Well, there's also their funding source. You remember, if you'll recall, the fact that we made an error when we had it, the grant money from the Land and Water Fund that we had to repay back was because we violated the conservation of the land. And so they're using I don't know exactly, I know Land and Water is one of their funding sources. So within those funding sources is also that language.
Yeah, and what I can go and do is get contact information from Bonnie and, you know, talk to representatives over there, and then if need be, their counsel.
That would be terrific. So, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, I need to clarify something with Brian Monday from Wildlife, because the way I remember it was the 10 acres was already approved before they gave us the first offer when they had the appraisal. and Matsu's approved that, so that's all set for the debris field, and that's a part of the training area too for the fire department. So I just want, because you know how he's put in his memo, for example, if it's 15 acres, I think it's only 5. I think when they made their initial offer, the 10 acres was already off the books. So I just need to clarify that, that's all.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. There's a second. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. All those opposed? It's 4-2. The motion passes. Okay, item number 5, which is a cemetery appointment. Alderman Spencer, you've got the helm, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you. We met last week and then did interviews, and I'm going to make a motion that we nominate Mr. Tom Lombardi to the Cemetery Committee.
Is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye and raise your hand. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Item number J6, which is the USDA loan, and the city manager has that.
Yes, as you're well aware, the board, a previous board, had agreed to take a $6,002,000 loan from USDA along with a $4,498,000 grant in order to use it for the, I always got to get these projects straight, sewer replacement project. And since that time, we've had discussions since the merger with the county, USDA, with us. And USDA is not going to allow the county to assume with the merger that loan or that grant because they do not qualify. So in speaking with the county manager, Steve Stone, and the county finance director, they agreed to use a portion of the $35 million from the state. So it'd be a total amount of $10.5 million to do this project, because ultimately they're going to be the ones who will finish this off. So I contacted the USDA. I said, the city's not going to be using this. And they said the best way to do it was to have the board vote that you don't want it. So, and I wanted to bring it to you quickly because it's only fair so they can give that money to somebody else, another entity, so.
I'll make a motion to deobligate the $6,002,000 in loan funds and $4,498,000 in grant funds from the USDA for the sewer replacement project.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I've never told anyone I didn't want their money.
This is the first time, yes.
This loan hadn't cost us anything yet, has it?
No, we never took the money, so we're good.
All right, all in favor say aye and raise your hand. It's unanimous, thank you. So we're now at the committee reports. All of those information is in your package. If you're assigned to one of those committees and there's something that you want to highlight, certainly feel free to do that now. All right, go to L, which is the manager's report.
Just for those interested, the board just decided to have a special meeting on April 8th. That's going to be for shoreline stabilization, because I know that's a huge project that many people are interested in. That'll be at 9 o'clock. Which building, Dory? I can't keep track of these.
I think it's at Indian Trail.
Okay, but check our website and you'll find out. Also, the new project list is out. It will be posted on the website. So if you're wondering what's going on with all our projects, the monthly project list is set and done. And lastly, anniversaries. For March, Eddie Moore, 10 years as our Park and Rec basketball referee. Angie Bates, 10 years, accounting technician. Dale Washington, 7 years as basketball ref. Sergeant Tom Moore, 5 years. Christopher Martin, 4 years, grounds maintenance, and Dory Dutton, 3 years. And I think most people know who Dory is, so. That's all I have.
All right, it's the mayor's comments. This meeting had a number of different topics, some more complicated than the others, but it all ran very smoothly. I want to thank the people that were in the audience here, and people at home, and most importantly, the board members for running this nice and smoothly. And with that, I will start at Alderman. You're not saying anything? Holy moly!
Just a lot of gratitude.
I may just beat your record. I don't know. Mr. Carroll.
Happy Lucky Weekend.
Alderman Lowe Davis.
3 things. First, here we are. It's 8:14. We had a 10-minute break, and we had a number of people speak, and some of them spoke for longer than 3 minutes. And we've only been here for 2 hours and 14 minutes, counting in the break. 2 other.
Do I get a bell for you, ma'am?
What was that?
Do I get a little bell for you? Go on. No, I'm sorry.
All right. I should have said Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meets on Tuesday night at the Parks and Recreation office next to the gym. It's at 6 o'clock. And Smith Cemetery Foundation has a big cleanup. Volunteers gather and rake, starting at 9 o'clock on this Saturday morning. Donuts will be served, and all hands on board, please.
Alderman Kelly.
I think Captain Ray left already, but I did just want to mention that I remember her before she was a captain working on the ferry boats, because I used to take the ferry almost every day to school. So that was kind of a neat thing to...
Yeah, she started with the line, being a line person, and worked her way up, yeah. She came with a license, but it was from Bermuda, so she had to get one here in the country. Mark?
I have some very exciting news. I have been informed via text from my wife that I'll be taking her to Cookout tonight in Southport. So y'all take it easy. Take it easy. Let me get there first. But and then I'll return to my home to watch the Whoop Pack be victorious tonight in the ACC tournament. Y'all have a great night.
Alderman Lay? Okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. So I'm going to read the closed session moments. I'm sorry. I'm going to entertain going to closed session for North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11, A5, to establish or to instruct the public body, staff, or negotiating agents concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price or other material of a contract or proposal contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease, or the amount of compensation and other material terms of an employment contract or proposed employment contract. Do I have a... Is there a second? Is there any comment?
Which is it?
Which is what?
Are we doing both of those things?
No, we're doing one of those things. It's the land thing.
I have 2 land things.
2 land things. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay. Any opposed? We're in closed session.
It's working.
I'll entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. We're adjourned.